All right, guys, we are going to talk about one single word. If you eliminate this one single word from your life, you will be successful in any area you want. You will truly be able to be, have, or do anything you want if you just stop using this one word. Now, I know it sounds like a magic pill, okay? And I'm certainly the last person who's going to say how easy it is to achieve success in anything. But the fact of the matter is, there's a difference between easy and simple. It is simple to eliminate this word from your vocabulary. It is not easy to eliminate this word from not just your vocabulary, but your thinking. And the word I'm talking about is but. If you truly have a goal that you truly want to achieve, and you stop using the word but when you talk about that goal, you will achieve that goal and you will achieve it quickly. Let me give you an example of how but screws things up. Okay, there was not a YouTube blog, but a written blog that I was reading a while ago, and the guy was basically talking about how to get big, like a bodybuilder, okay? And one of the things was, of course, eating a lot of food. And somebody actually made a comment where he's like, well, I just don't really, want to eat like every 3 hours for like the rest of my life. And I don't want to eat all that food. So can you tell me a way to do this without having to eat so much? And he actually put a smiley at the end, like smile. Like he wasn't being a hater. He wasn't being negative. But what the fuck is wrong with you? This guy's giving you the keys to the kingdom. And all you have to do is follow his fucking advice. And you're like, well, I just don't want to do that. So I made a video where I talked about this blog post and this comment. And I basically said like, it's like, I want to become a lawyer, but I don't want to go to law school. So tell me how to become a lawyer if I don't want to go to law school. And the answer is you shut the fuck up and you realize that you're a loser. You're never going to become a lawyer, and you come up with a different goal. Okay? There is no such thing as, oh, hey, I really hated high school. And the only reason I graduated is because my parents made me. And I don't want to go to college. Maybe I will. But, I certainly don't want to go to school for another so many years after I go to school for so many years to graduate college. So can you just tell me how to become a lawyer without having to go to college or law school? No, motherfucker, it doesn't. No, it does. You don't. Okay, you don't. The moment you use but, you fuck everything up. And that's the reason why it is so simple, but it is so not easy to be successful by eliminating the word but from your vocabulary, okay? It's really simple. It's like if you say, and Rich Piana, rest in peace, a very great motivation. I love the way this guy lived. I love the way he built his life up. I don't agree with everything he did, of course, but as an inspiration, I think he's awesome. And he would say the same thing. People would come up to him at, at like expos, and they'd be like, how do I get big? Well, you got to eat so many meals a day. He's like, but I can't. And he's like, you're wasting my fucking time telling me you can't. Like, he'd actually get pissed off. Like, you can't? Why the fuck are you asking if I give you the answer and then you say, I can't? So what I'm basically trying to say here is like, listen, let's be honest. If you really want something, you're not going to say but. You're not going to come up with excuses. I want to become a lawyer. Okay, step number one, you find somebody, you ask somebody who knows, who can give you the answer, and you just write down what they say and you implement it immediately. Well, you've got to march through hell. You've got to do this and that, do this. You got to go to college, okay? And you immediately come up with a plan to implement those steps that they gave you, and you immediately implement the plan that you came up with. Okay? There is no such thing as, well, how do I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Now, it is okay to say, I am not going to become a lawyer because I am not willing to go to school for 8 years. I'm not going to become a lawyer. Honestly, I have no interest whatsoever in becoming a lawyer. Okay? The only reason I would want to become a lawyer is to make a little bit of money. But the fact of the matter is, if I were to work on like my own business for like the next 8 years, okay, 8, 10, 12 years that it would take to like go to college, to go to law school, to, start working as an attorney, to start building up my reputation, etc. If I were to work myself, imagine how much I can accomplish in all those years. Okay, so there's no reason for me to bust my ass, come up with all this debt, to go through all this schooling, wait for years and years and years, living out of garbage cans or whatever it takes, you know, to survive, because I don't have any money to go to college and everything, you know, and then have debt and then start working years and years from now, okay? And it's not, I'm saying, but I'm just saying, hey, it's not that important to me. It's not a goal of mine, or there's nothing wrong with that, okay? You know, it's like, you know, how do you become like a CEO of a company? Well, first of all, you start working 60 hours a week and you do that for 10 years in a row. Okay, great. Are you willing to do that? I mean, maybe it's not that important. And that's really where but comes from, when it's really not that important to you. So but is actually like the litmus test to see if this is a good goal. You know, how do I become a lawyer? Well, you go to college, then you go to law school, then you clerk, then you intern, then you start working, then you become partner. Whoa. I don't want to go to school for all those years. Which is basically telling you, you don't really want to become a lawyer. You aren't really all that dedicated to becoming a lawyer. It's not really all that important to you. Okay? You know, if somebody says, well, how do I become like a 300-pound bodybuilder? Okay, well, you have to eat this many times a day. You have to eat this much every time. You have to train this much. You have to sleep this much. You have to take these drugs. Like, whoa. You know, that's not important enough for you. Well, then you're not going to become a big bodybuilder. Okay? If somebody tells you, you're like, well, you need to do this, this, and this to become a 300-pound bodybuilder. You're like writing down. It's like, okay, great. Eat this much, this often, sleep, work out like this, work out this often, drugs, whatever. Write all that stuff down and implement it immediately. Then yes, okay, it is important to you. You wanted to become a 300-pound bodybuilder. You asked somebody who knew. You wrote down their advice. You came up with a plan to implement that advice, and you started implementing it immediately. That means that your goal is important to you. You didn't say but. Okay? So, like I said, if you truly want to achieve something and you find out what it takes and you say but, first of all, you're not going to achieve it. And second, it's probably telling that your goal is not that important to you, because if it was, you would do whatever it takes.